there's a moment every parent eventually faces. Your child comes to you, maybe about a business idea, maybe about a career choice, maybe about something as simple as how they want to spend their time, and they're not asking for your permission. They're asking for your thoughts. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can tell them exactly what to do, expecting them to follow it without question. Or you can do something much harder. You can offer your guidance and then step back and let them decide for themselves. I chose the second option, and I want to explain why. Because I believe it's one of the most important decisions a parent can make. Think about every skill your child has ever learned in their life. Walking, riding a bicycle, reading. None of those skills came from you doing it perfectly for them. They came from you guiding them, watching them stumble, and trusting that the stumbling itself was part of how they were learning. So why do we forget this completely once our children grow older? Why do we suddenly believe that decision-making, something far more complex than riding a bicycle, should somehow be perfect on the first try, without any room for mistakes? If you constantly make every decision for your child, if you never let them choose, never let them risk being wrong, you're not protecting them. You're quietly teaching them that they cannot trust their own judgment. And that lesson follows them long after they've left your home. Here's something I've come to believe deeply. A child raised to always ask permission before thinking for themselves grows into an adult who struggles to trust their own mind. But a child who is guided, supported, and then allowed to make their own choices, even imperfect ones, grows into someone who knows how to stand on their own. Now, I want to be clear about something, because guidance matters just as much as freedom. Letting your children make their own decisions does not mean staying silent when something crosses a line that truly matters. If a choice involves something clearly harmful, something that goes against what is right, against the values you've worked to instill in them, that is exactly the moment to speak clearly and firmly. Guidance and freedom are not opposites. Real freedom exists within boundaries, the same way a river flows powerfully precisely because its banks give it direction. So when I talk about letting children make their own choices, I'm talking about the countless decisions in life that don't involve right and wrong in a moral sense. Which career path to pursue, which business idea to try, how to spend their time and effort, whether to take a particular risk. These are the spaces where children need room to choose, even if their choice isn't the one you would have made yourself. Let's talk honestly about what happens when a child makes a mistake in one of these areas. Because this is where most parents get it wrong, often with the best intentions. A business fails. A choice doesn't work out the way they hoped. They come home, disappointed, maybe even ashamed. And in that moment, there are two paths a parent can take. The first path is criticism. I told you this wouldn't work. You should have listened to me. This is what happens when you don't think things through. Every one of those statements might feel justified in the moment. But here's what they actually teach a child. They teach them that mistakes are dangerous, that failure means disappointing the people they love, and slowly they learn it's safer to stop trying new things altogether, because trying means risking that disappointment again. The second path is far harder, but far more valuable. It's sitting with them in that failure, without judgment, and asking, "What did you learn from this?" It's reminding them that almost everyone who has ever built something meaningful failed first, sometimes, many times. before they figured out what worked. It's helping them see the mistake not as proof that they're incapable, but as information, simply one more piece of data on the path toward eventually getting it right. This is exactly how confidence is actually built. Not by avoiding every mistake, but by learning that mistakes don't define your worth. And they don't end your ability to try again. Think about what it does to a person's confidence over a lifetime, knowing that even when they fail, the people who love them most won't make them feel small for trying. That kind of security doesn't make children reckless. It makes them brave enough to actually take initiative. Instead of staying frozen, too afraid of disappointing someone to ever attempt anything bold. There's a difference between guiding a child with wisdom and controlling them out of fear. Wisdom says, "Here is what I've learned. Here is something to consider, and the decision is yours to make." Fear says, "Do exactly what I say, because I can't bear to watch you struggle or fail." But struggle is not the enemy of growth. It is the actual mechanism of it. Every value you hope your child internalizes, patience, responsibility, resilience, faith in their own capability, none of those are built through being protected from every difficulty. They're built by facing difficulty, sometimes failing at it, and discovering they survived anyway. This doesn't mean stepping back completely and offering no guidance at all. There's an important difference between abandoning your children to figure everything out alone and walking beside them while letting them hold the steering wheel. You're still there. You're still available for advice when they ask for it. You're still someone they can come to when things go wrong. But the decision itself, the actual choosing, that belongs to them. And here's something beautiful that happens when you parent this way. Your children don't become distant from you because you gave them independence. If anything, the relationship grows stronger because it's no longer built on obligation or fear. It's built on genuine respect. They come to you for advice not because they have to, but because they actually trust your wisdom, having seen it offered freely, without control attached to it. There's also something deeply important here about raising children within a framework of values, while still allowing independence in everyday choices. Teaching your children right from wrong, teaching them the boundaries that matter, that foundation has to be there first. But within that foundation, in the actual day-to-day decisions of life, career, business, how they choose to spend their effort and time, that's where independence becomes essential. A person who has strong values but no decision-making confidence will struggle just as much as a person who is confident but has no values to guide that confidence. So if you're a parent listening to this, wondering whether you're doing the right thing by stepping back and letting your child choose for themselves, here's what I want you to know. You are not failing them by letting them make mistakes. You would be failing them by never letting them try in the first place. Every time your child comes to you with an idea, a choice, a direction they want to take, you have an opportunity. You can offer your honest thoughts, your experience, your concerns, if something genuinely needs addressing. And then, in the spaces where the decision is truly theirs to make, you can let go, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're not entirely sure it will work out. Because somewhere down the line, your child will face a decision you won't be there for, a choice you can't make for them, a moment where they have to trust their own judgment completely. And in that moment, what they'll remember isn't whether you made every choice perfect for them growing up, They'll remember whether you trusted them enough to let them try and loved them enough to stay close, even when they got it wrong. That is what real guidance looks like. Not control, not constant correction, but steady presence, honest wisdom, and enough trust to let them become exactly who they're capable of becoming, mistakes and all.